Hari Om. In today's lesson, we will carry on with our discussion on chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Geeta. Chapter 16 is entitled The Division Between the Divine and the Demoniac. So in this chapter, you can say it is a self-evaluation chapter. In this chapter, the Lord gives us 26 divine qualities. What it means is that the more divine qualities we have, it means the more sattvic we are. And then the Lord also gives us some of the demonic qualities. Demonic qualities means we have more rajasic and tamasic gunas in us. So obviously, if we want to advance spiritually, we must make sure that we have more sattvic qualities, more sattvic nature. So how to know if I have a sattvic nature? I can use these 26 qualities and analyze my personality, and from that I will be able to tell whether what I need to improve on and what good qualities I have, I can build on them. So there were 26 divine qualities which the Lord will give us in chapter 16 verses 1, 2 and 3. We have in the last lesson already seen 3 qualities in verse number 1. We will carry on with the next quality, which is called dhanam or charity. Charity is another important sadhana, but very important to note that it must be done with the right attitude. So the right attitude, in fact, of the right way of giving charity is always to consider the receiver, to thank the receiver for giving us an opportunity to give. So there must not be an ego when we give charity, and we must not expect anything back in return. In fact, in the next chapter 17, Krishna will tell us that dhanam can be also classified as sattvic dhanam, rajasic dhanam and tamasic dhanam. So not necessary by just giving dhanam, it will bring us purity. It's a good deed, but if we do it with ego, it will not purify us. So the right attitude must be there to help others in society and to always consider the receiver, be very thankful to the receiver for giving us an opportunity to serve. And the first benefit of dhanam, charity, is it removes a very big impurity in any human being that is called lobha. Lobha means greed. It's a very serious mental impurity. And initially we may give with some pain, but gradually dhanam will give us inner peace and reduce our attachment to possessions. Therefore, when I give dhanam and I don't feel any inner pain, what does it mean? It means I have overcome my attachment to my possessions. And dhanam is a way for us to give back, to express our gratitude for whatever we have attained or achieved in life. We are returning. The attitude is we are sharing whatever we have been blessed with. And in chapter 3, verse 12 also, Krishna did say, one who receives blessings from the Lord and enjoys it for themselves without sharing with others, the Lord says, is verily a thief. Such a person is a thief. So, and the right way to give dhanam will be discussed more deeply in chapter 17. Especially in verse 20, we can see the right way of giving dhanam, which is the sattvic way. Next divine quality the Lord explains about is called damaha. Damaha is control of the external organs. That means the 5 senses. So damaha is also known by another name called indriya nigraha, sensory control. And the discipline and the control of our senses is a very important quality on the spiritual path. Sense control does not mean restraint or suppression, but it means mastery over the sense organs. Suppression only leads to depression. See, when we suppress the senses, it leads to depression because we are not mastering it. However, when I control my senses out of the right understanding, out of right conviction, then this is good for my spiritual growth, and it is called mastery. So everyone should practice to control their senses, sense organs, eyes, nose, tongue, and skin from wasteful pursuits and addictions, and divert them towards the pursuit of a higher goal in life. Always constantly try to engage your senses in higher pursuits in life. And Krishna has cautioned us in chapter 2, verse 60, if you recall, the dangers of undisciplined senses. And then in chapter 2, verses 62 and 63, Krishna spoke about the 8 steps that bring the downfall of a human being who is not able to master his senses. So the senses are to be controlled by a higher equipment which is called the mind. And the mind is to be controlled by a higher equipment known as the intellect. Next quality given is yajnaha, or sacrifice. And there are 2 types of yajnas mentioned in the scriptures. One is the rituals or fire sacrifices by which we worship the Lord or various deities also. The other is the practice of what is known as the Pancha Maha Yajnas. Pancha means 5, Maha means great, Yajnas means sacrifice, which every human being must follow these 5 great sacrifices. The first one is called Deva Yajna, which means worship of deities, whichever is your Ishta Devata, Ganesha, Krishna, Shiva, etc. That is called Deva Yajna. Second is Pitra Yajna, where we worship and in gratitude to our ancestors for whatever they have given us. Third is Brahma Yajna, which is worship of Guru, the teachers who have given us knowledge. Manusha Yajna, serving others who are less fortunate in society. Bhuta Yajna, taking care of feeding of creatures also, like feeding the birds, feeding the fish, feeding the cows. So the Pancha Maha Yajnas are to be brought into our everyday life in order to thank every aspect there is in nature. So Yajna here covers both the ritualistic fire ceremony or other ceremonies that we do, and Pancha Maha Yajnas, whereby with the right attitude I look upon all my actions as an offering to the Lord. Next quality is Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means chanting. It stands for scriptural recitation or chanting. Even if done mechanically without understanding the words also helps. Why? As the words of the scriptures are from the lotus lips of the Lord, and anything that emanates from the Lord is sacred and has the power to purify. So most important is we must chant and we must listen to chanting with faith. Example, chanting of Vishnu Sahasranama, various verses or chapters from the Bhagavad Geeta, Hanuman Chalisa. Constant recitation helps to divinize oneself. Next quality is called tapaha or austerity. Austerity is described by Krishna in detail in chapter 17, verses 14 to 19, in which Krishna gives the definition of a sattvic, rajasic and tamasic, 3 types of austerities. Also in the same verses, Krishna mentions that austerity is of 3 types. It is at 3 levels. Austerity at the physical body level, austerity at verbal level, what we speak also, what type of words we speak, the type of language we use, and austerity at the mental level. So all the 3, we must have austerity at mental, verbal and physical level. A simple understanding of tapaha, austerity, is willfully denying yourself or abstaining from what you are addicted to. Example, if you are constantly driven by your senses of taste, you have uncontrolled passion for food, then fasting once a week will help to discipline your senses. If you are prone to using foul language, then restrain yourself for one day of the week and vow never to use any foul words on that day. And if your mind is constantly harboring hateful thoughts for someone, then keep aside that one day of the week and send out kind, loving thoughts to that person on that day. So this is a practice we have to also bring in. That is called tapaha or austerity. Next quality in verse number 1 is called arjavam, which means straightforwardness. So this arjavam, straightforwardness, integrity, uprightness, it must be also aligned at all three levels. Mental level, what we think; verbal level, what we speak; and physical, by our actions. So it is not just pretending to be good, but mentally being corrupted and verbally using harsh words or foul words. So this straightforwardness or integrity must be maintained at mental, verbal, and physical level. That is total harmonization of our personality. And our personality, whatever we think, whatever we talk, how we behave, it must be in accordance with dharma. Now we move on to verse number 2, where we are given some more qualities. The first quality mentioned in verse number 2 is ahimsa, non-violence. If you take out the A, himsa means violence. Violence at three levels. Again, physical violence, we can use verbal violence by using hurtful, offensive, foul words, and mental violence by thinking bad about people. So ahimsa means again non-violence at all three levels: mental, verbal, physical. Reduction or removal of all forms of violent responses or expressions is ahimsa. Now firstly, we must be aware of the repercussions by continuously using violent behavior in our lives. The law of karma states that whatever you give, you have to receive back. The force of what you receive is equivalent to the force of what you have given, no more, no less. However, Shastra, scriptures does give exception when himsa or violence can be used. As even in the Gita, Krishna urges Arjuna to fight. Although it is a Kshatriya's duty to engage in violence for the protection of dharma, however, it is also the duty of a Kshatriya to first try all peaceful means to resolve the issue. And when all such peaceful methods fail, then it is the duty of the Kshatriya to use himsa for the protection of dharma. And we can notice from the Mahabharata battle that although both the Pandavas and Kauravas use violence during the battle, however, the difference is Pandavas use violence to protect dharma, Kauravas use violence to propagate or support adharma. So even Krishna himself said in chapter 4 that I have to protect dharma, and that is why many of our gods wield weapons for the sole purpose of protection of dharma. Next quality, satyam. Asatyam is deceit, untruthfulness. So satyam, truthfulness, avoidance of untruth is an important value to lead a divine life. Thoughts and words must be aligned to lead a life of truthfulness. Akrodha, next quality, absence of anger. Krodha is when anger arises. When anger arises, it takes away our ability to think rationally. Anger is often called temporary insanity because when anger subsides, we analyze our actions done in anger and something we would not normally do. Anger destroys three very important virtues required for spiritual health. The first virtue that anger destroys is samatvam. Samatvam means a balanced state of mind, calmness, poiseness. All this is destroyed by the rise of anger. 2. Sukshmatvam, sensitivity of the mind, because of which we respect the feelings of others. But the more anger we have, it destroys the sensitivity, and we do actions without considering the repercussions on others. 3. Savadhanatvam. Savadhanatvam is the capacity to deliberate actions, being aware of our actions as a result of our actions are going to accrue to us only. Thus, if I cannot be in control of my actions, I will suffer the consequences of my actions. Anger overpowers my ability to be conscious of my actions. In anger, we resort to impulsive thoughts and impulsive words and actions. Thus, akrodaha, absence of anger, is important so that our rational capacity is not overpowered. Anger starts at mental level. When we can't control it, it expresses itself at a verbal level. When we shout, we scream, and when we can't control anger at the verbal level, it manifests at the physical level. We throw things about, we hit someone. Thus, we have to learn to manage anger to progress spiritually, anger management. Tyagaha, renunciation. Initially, we renounce what are the things you do not need, meaning lead a simple life. Reduction of possessions. Why? The more things you have, they have a capacity to occupy our mind. Because all the time we are thinking about the possessions, or we are thinking about how to get new possessions. So they have a capacity to occupy our mind, and a preoccupied mind is not available for higher pursuits in life. In fact, in meditation, it is these external objects which distract our mind. A devotee should constantly remind himself that everything belongs to the Lord. Everything has been given to me by the grace of the Lord, and the Lord has a right to take away anything from me anytime He wants. Nothing you can take away. The house you are so proud of, when you're gone, will be occupied and enjoyed by someone else. The car that you take so much pride in, when you're gone, it will be driven by someone else. So tyagaha, renounce, not physically, but always practice mental renunciation, that you are not the owner of anything, all belong to Bhagwan only. So renunciation is not that you should not own anything. Renunciation means nothing should own you, should not preoccupy, should not obsess your mind. Shanti, mastery of the mind, equanimity of mind, tranquility of mind, poise of mind. In chapter 17, verse 16, Krishna called this practice as austerity of the mind. Our ability to filter thoughts that are detrimental to our spiritual progress. We cannot repress all our thoughts, as thoughts are born out of our past actions. So arrival of thoughts is not in our control. Many times thoughts just emerge in our mind. If you refer to chapter 3 verse 34, there is more explanation on that. However, even if we cannot stop the thoughts arising in our mind, we can be actively conscious of negative thoughts when they arise. Anxiety, fear, greed, anger. And once I'm consciously aware that they are detrimental to my spiritual growth, I do not give any support to these thoughts. So we cannot suppress the thoughts, which negative thoughts. It's difficult. We cannot express negative thoughts. It will be harmful to us. The only way is to divert the mind. Keep on diverting the mind to higher thoughts, to noble thoughts. It's a conscious exercise that has to go on constantly. So we have to practice to keep on diverting our thoughts. And there was a story given when Ravan was defeated in battle and he lay dying on the battlefield. Lord Rama was told to seek advice from Ravan, as even though Ravan was an evil person, yet he was equipped with right knowledge in how to manage a kingdom effectively. So Ravan had only two pieces of advice for Lord Rama. He said to Lord Rama, if good thoughts come to your mind, Whenever good thoughts come to your mind, do them immediately. Do not procrastinate. So good thoughts come to your mind. I want to do charity. I want to pray. I want to go to temple. I want to read the scriptures. Do them immediately. Do not procrastinate. Second advice that Ravan gave, when a woman tells you to do something, don't do it. So there is an allegory behind it. Now think about this. When what Ravan meant by the second advice was that his own sister Surpanakha had planted a wrong thought in Ravan's mind. She kept on planting this thought that Sita was the most beautiful woman on this earth and only Ravan deserved to have her as his queen. And more Ravan thought about this evil thought. It pushed him into action. He kidnapped Sita, that resulted in his own destruction. So what Ravan was trying to say, when negative thoughts arise in the mind, don't act upon them. Try to divert your mind. And Krishna also says this in chapter 2, verse 62 and 63, to be always aware of our thoughts. Also, as we perform more sattvic actions, going for satsangs, bhajans, listening to spiritual talks, keeping the company of saints, our mind will gradually reduce the reduction of harmful thoughts and concentrate on higher thoughts. Thus, Shantir, mastery of the mind, equanimity of the mind, is not supporting wrong thoughts that arise in the mind. It is also known as Mano Nigraha. Next quality, Apaisunam, absence of malice. Paisuna means talking ill of others, slander, rumor mongering, talking negatively about others, especially behind their backs. Is very enjoyable pastime for one reason: it is free of charge. It does not cause you any expense. However, negative result is that mind is not constructively occupied. It is a waste of our mental energies. We are throwing more garbage into our own minds and also into other people's minds. Apaisunam, absence of malice. Better it is for us to find something good about others and talk about that. And if you can't find anything good to talk about another person, then it is better to just stay quiet. Maunam is another great sadhana. Dhaya, compassion. Bhuteshu, for all living beings. Empathy of the mind. Being sensitive to sense the feelings of others. Share in others' happiness and sorrow with equal mind. When we have this quality, we will never be able to hurt others, as when we are sensitive about others, when we hurt others, we ourselves will feel the hurt also. So see things from other person's viewpoint. This sensitivity must be for not only humans, but for animals, plants, and the environment. Thus, when we have compassion for animals, how can we even think about killing them and having them for our food? Daya, compassion for Bhuteshu, all creatures. Here Krishna refers not only just to humans but also to animal, insects, plants, etc. to be compassionate to all life forms. Alu luptvam, non-covetousness, absence of desire. Does not mean we cannot have any desires. We have every right to enjoy pleasures which are dharmic. In chapter 7, verse 11, Krishna says, I am desire, which is not contrary to dharma. Thus, firstly, avoid adharmic desires. And the world is full of such attractions and temptations. Example like smoking cigarettes. Many people think, I will only take one smoke, then I will stop. And once you start it, it leads to addiction. And secondly, when it comes to dharmic pleasures, do not become a slave to your senses. Freedom from slavery of the senses. If it is available, it is fine. If it is not available, it is also fine. That mastery of the mind is aloluptvam, or excessive wanting. Mardavam, gentleness. In all transactions of life, absence of harshness in conducting yourselves at level of thoughts, words and actions. Example, Guru is kind and gentle with his disciples when he has to correct them and also when he has to enlighten them and answer their doubts. He conducts himself with mardhavam, gentleness, soft-spoken, politeness. Hri, modesty. Hri means having a sense of shame, a healthy type of shame that prevents us from doing adharmic actions. When we have this feeling of healthy shame in us, we are careful of whatever actions we do. So this type of shame prevents us from doing evil actions. Like sometimes we tell children when they've done something wrong, don't you have any shame that you have done this? So that feeling of shame to keep ourselves away from doing wrongful actions. Achapalam. Achapalam means freedom from restlessness. Chapala means restlessness, which is expressed at physical level. Physical restlessness is the manifestation of a restless mind. You can see some people constantly fidgeting with their hands, legs, biting fingernails when there is no need for that. So achapalam means freedom from restlessness, body is calm, relaxed, very useful when we sit for meditation or for prayers. Verse number 3, quality given here is, divine quality given here is tejaha, maturity. So tejaha, maturity here means not being a victim of exploitation. So earlier quality given of a divine person was mardhavam, gentleness. However, when a situation arises, a devotee also must be alert and not just be exploited by society. So tejaha is also translated as brightness. Thus a person must be alert and not get carried away by sweet words or words uttered by foolish people. When people do not have this quality, they get easily swayed and run from one guru to another, one temple to another, or even one sadhana to another due to their own immaturity. So do not exploit others and do not be exploited also. Shama, forgiveness. Shama can also mean tolerance, non-emergence of anger, especially when we are being insulted, ridiculed, etc. Although a divine person may take the necessary action to protect himself, yet mind must remain in a state of forgiveness. Never should anger against someone be the basis of our actions. If this is practiced at mental level, then it will not express itself at verbal or physical level. Thus, Shama is an even greater control of violence as it is practiced at mental level. Now, one may ask, why should I forgive someone who is constantly abusing me? By forgiving another person, you are not doing that person a favor. However, you are doing yourself, your own self a favor. The result is you enjoy inner peace and tranquility. Convert your hatred for that person into prayer for that person. It is for your benefit, not for the other person's benefit. Dhriti, fortitude, perseverance or willpower. In chapter 2, verse 14, Krishna used the word titiksha. Sukha dukha experiences in our life come and go. Why do sukha dukha, happy and sad experiences come in our life and go? Because of our past punyam and papam, our good deeds and evil deeds. No one can avoid them. A devotee will encounter all types of obstacles in life, sometimes even discouragement from friends and family members who say you're wasting time on the spiritual path. But the devotee must invoke the grace or Shakti of the Lord through prayer, meditation, chanting, or scriptural study to discover that inner strength, to see Him through and never give up striving for that goal. That ability to stay on the spiritual path, come what may, and meet all the challenges with inner strength is a divine virtue. As Krishna said in chapter 7, verse 3, that only 1 in 1,000 people strive for perfection. The majority of people are busy indulging in sense pleasures for instant gratification. Saucham, purity, cleanliness, orderliness at the gross level, keeping our environments clean, the clothes you wear clean, your body clean, and the company you keep. Choose the right company. Even the food you eat should be sattvic. At verbal level, keep your speech clean, and at mental level, keep your mind clean. Therefore, the company we keep, the type of materials we read, the places we go to, all this affects the purity of our total personality. In computer language, this is called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So that quality is saucham or purity. And so we will stop here now, and when we resume in the next class, we will carry on with the next quality, the next divine quality. Hari Om Tat Sat.